Now, what we want, see, Joni has volunteered to respond to questions too and help me out in that regard because, see, Joni's used it in the classroom. I'm a very biased author, okay? You can assume, well, you can assume that Joni would be biased too, or I wouldn't let her come up and answer questions, you know, so that there's a certain amount of bias effect here. But I would encourage you, I'm going to answer anything you want, and Joni can answer too, but I would encourage you to ask questions of anybody of the program, anything you want, so that I'm not even there. Because we worked, Mary and I worked on this program a very long time, and we personally were very pleased with what we saw it do for the children in our classrooms. And this is not meant to be a sales pitch. I wanted to give you this presentation today so you have some notion of what we at the center were doing all this time when we kept saying, oh yes, the reading program will be out next year and next year and next year, and it finally was out. Because we're very pleased with it. As instructors, you're not supposed to go out selling it or anything like that. You know, that's where Richard does that. And I do that too. Sometimes we go out and make presentations. But we really don't like the notion of selling anything. We just like sharing what we do. And if it happens to match what you want done, well, we do this. And if you want something else done, well, then you do that. Now, what questions? There were lots of good questions that I hope people at least took mental note of. Anything you want to know, we'd be happy to try and answer. Yes?
Joni, could you tell us a little bit about the differences you noticed between what you were previously using as opposed to this year? What type of program did you use, say, the year before you used this program?
I used Harcourt Brace, but our district has their own list of skills, so I only used a basic for comprehension just to practice the reading process. But the biggest difference I found was the success and the happiness the children got from reading. And that carried them a long ways, because if they're happy about something, they feel like they can do it, they'll try anything. And it made all of them very good phonetic readers. When they opened a book, they naturally sounded out every word. And it never dawned on them that they couldn't read a book. No one ever said to them, this book is too hard, and they never said to themselves. They would just open it up and start plugging away at it. And they knew that sometimes it would be slow because they had worked through some of those other cards slowly. And so they knew that it took practice, but they knew in the end that they could do it, that they had all the skills and they could do it. And I think that was the biggest thing I saw. They were just so proud of themselves. They had a little LD boy. And I mean, once or twice a week, he'd get a book. I'm going to the principal. No one thinks I can read, but I'm going to show her. And he was so proud of himself. And by the end of the year, he was ready for second grade level. And they were considering him in kindergarten to go into a special school.
Yes?
I can see that you could start, like what Donald Graves was talking about, on day one, and also be doing this side by side. But do you use the Decode-if-you-can and first, and then when the kids are in that transitional level, begin their creative writing?
Creative writing for me starts when they know 44 sounds. That's not later in the year. When I was at the stations and said, okay, you guys don't get to, this is my favorite station because children get to begin stamping out words and things like that, but they don't get to stamp them out until they know all 44 sounds. That happens in the first month or so. From that point forward, I want the stamping station to be constantly used for them to stamp out what they want, starting off with a word, building to phrases, sentences, paragraphs, or the person's story about his cousins coming over and they're having lots of fun.
I also did a lot of things like this, you know, we did group stories. Also with the 2- and 3-sound word books, they thought it was fascinating that those words could mean lots of different things. So we did a lot of discussion about, what do you think the picture's going to be on the next page? And they'd say, oh, a sea, it's going to be somebody seeing, it's going to be the ocean. So we did a lot of verbalizing and talking and vocabulary work so that they'd really be prepared. And like I say, we did a lot of experience stuff, we did a lot of drawing, we did a lot of brainstorming and just talking together as a group. But then when they got to the stamping station, I thought that was real natural, that they wanted to, they'd say, ooh, how about my name? Their name is something they really want to stamp out with. Can I stamp out my name? So they'd start with that and do a few things, but it was kind of natural. They wanted to take those sounds once they knew them. And before that, because see, we traditionally, they want to write, we think, a lot of people think that creative writing is letters. And so for them to take the stamps, it's kind of a different approach, but they really enjoyed it. It was fascinating.
And also add to it, like, whenever a program is done, like, in workshops, when we give math their way workshops, there's a specific series of events we carry people through. And sometimes they lose track, and they think that those events are the program. And they think that we're just giving lip service to the notion that it's a philosophy. Okay? Well, the reading program is a series of events, but it's not meant to be an exclusive series of events. It's meant to be a vehicle for approaching, allowing children to begin learning to stamp out their own words and things like that very early. And if you were using the reading program and had another way that you thought was just as good or anything like that, there's no reason why they shouldn't go on together. Because it's not an either-or choice we make in this world. It's simply things that help us accomplish what we want to accomplish.